The presentation today is on the annual certification process. The employer may begin the annual certification process when you have all of those 23-24 pay period reports uploaded. If you haven't checked out that summer payroll presentation, make sure you do that because, again, you need to have all of your 23-24 reports uploaded, posted, and we also have to review any type of internal errors that we may have on our side. So if you do notice that all your reports are in, they're posted, and that link is not available, just check back in a couple of days because it means that we are working on some errors from your posted report. The link is located on the employer reporting dashboard. Now the link was available. It opened up on June 1st, so you should see that on your employer reporting dashboard. Now the submission of the annual certification, that will not be enabled until July 1st. So you can go in there, you can start working on it, but that final button to submit to TRS, that is not going to be enabled again until July 1st. Now the first time that you click that link, it is going to roll up all that information that you have posted on all your pay period reports throughout the year. Now, the next time that you select the link, it's going to take you to the new annual certification dashboard. Now, while the system is rolling up all that information, you may return to that employer reporting dashboard. You could log out and leave, but you will receive an email that's going to let you know that that process is complete. If you do go back to the dashboard, just know you may need to refresh your screen to see that that link is enabled. And once you receive that email confirmation and you go back in through the link, you are going to see that new annual certification dashboard. Now from this dashboard, you're going to be able to navigate directly to any of these pages. So you do not need to go in a specific order. You can go directly to sick leave. And if you have multiple people working on it at the district, this is very helpful for you guys. Now, each one of these pages will have to be marked review complete. So what exactly are all 5 of these pages? Well, the first one is where you're going to do the majority of your work, which is that member summary. So you're going to be able to view and edit any of those earnings that you had reported throughout the year. You're going to be able to update any termination end dates and sick leave. And this is also where you're going to provide any edit explanations that you may need to do. We have an edit explanations page now, so it's going to display all of those explanations that you put on the member summary page. The final sick leave review page, that is where you're going to review all the members that had termination end dates provided on that member summary page. The federal funded earnings, that's where you're going to see the summary of all of the amounts that you had reported throughout the year on your pay period reports. And you're going to be able to review that information and make corrections to the amounts or the fund categories that you chose throughout the year. We have a workers' compensation page, and this is where you're going to be able to add any members that were on workers' compensation at your district and you paid a portion of their daily rate. So that's important. It is that they're on workers' compensation and either you were paying a portion or maybe they were using a third of a sick leave day. We just need that information from you. The final sick leave certification, once you have reviewed those other 5 pages, that will be enabled, and that's where you will see a summary of all of your information, and you will be able to then submit that to us. So you will need to click proceed on each one of those 5 pages, and you will see the review complete link at the bottom of each one of those pages. Now, a little bit of a tip, if you click that review complete and then you went back and made changes, you might notice that that review complete came off of that page. So you will need to go back in there and check that again. Now, when each page is marked review complete, you're going to see in green that there is a reviewed listed on there so that you know right there on the front of the page that you had gone in there and had done that review complete. And again, that final annual certification page, that's going to be enabled once you see that green reviewed in all 5 of those pages. Now I'm going to go over each one of the pages in detail, and I'm going to start with the member summary page. Now this is very important. I made it red, I bolded it. You need to first start and look at the member count that you have on that front page. So if any members are not reported, so in the example below, they have 10 listed. If you know that you have 12 people that should be on that report, you need to stop and delete that report by using that delete button at the bottom. And anytime that you click delete, you're going to lose any corrections that you worked on. So that's why I have on here, it's very important you first start with looking at that member count. Reason being is because you cannot add members on the annual certification process. You will need to upload a report and add the member on a pay period report. So once you do that and it's been posted, we review any internal errors, then you can restart the annual certification process. Now the annual certification member summary, this is where it's going to list all of those members that you had reported on the pay period reports and all of their individual total amounts you'll see right there on the front of the page. You're also going to see the actions needed column, and that's going to let you know if there's errors. So if you'll notice, this is just like your pay period report. So a lot of these screens, they might look similar to what you are already used to. If errors need to be resolved, if you see something in that actions needed, you will go into each member by clicking the view summary details. Now you can also, just like your pay period reports, we do have that errors only box. So once you click that, it will just populate everybody that has an action needed first. Now, if you notice that you have a ton of errors that can be corrected by maybe just uploading another report, you can just use that delete button again, and you can upload another report to make those adjustments. Now we added a new mass update option, and that can be used for correcting contract days and days paid, which that seems to be a common issue that maybe your payroll software left off those first couple days of the school or those last couple days at the end. And then you notice once you roll up that all that information, for some reason, maybe you only have 175 days paid and it should be 180, you'll be able to make that correction. Now we are planning on monitoring these reports as you roll them up. So if you get 500 errors and you do not know why, before you start working on each individual person, you may want to reach out to us if you don't know why. Now, we have already seen that some districts have clicked the button and that's fine. And we have reached out to those because we were a little bit worried that maybe you wanted to start working on it, but they didn't have their last summer pays. So just know if you do happen to do that, to go in, we might give you a call if we notice that you are working on it without uploading all your reports or if you have 500 errors. Now the mass update option, again, that can only be used to correct contract days and days paid. So you can see that link that says mass update right there on the front of your member summary screen. Now you'll be able to select members or be able to filter them out. So once you go in to the mass update first it's going to automatically display anybody that you reported days paid for. Now you can uncheck each one of the members if you want them excluded, or you can maybe filter by employment type or job category if you wanted to choose all full-time members. Now, I will point out, if you start unchecking members and then you decide, I'm going to actually just filter by job category. Well, all of those people that you unchecked, those are not going to now be displayed if you start filtering at the top. So you might want to exit out and then go back in if you started unchecking people and maybe you did want them included in the mass update. So once you choose all the members that you would like to do the mass update on, you can just click that proceed to update. The next screen is going to allow you two different options. So either you can just replace contract days with a specific number, or you can increase or decrease them. So just like the example below, if you left off 5 days at the beginning of the year, you can just choose to simply add 5 days to everybody, or you could replace that number with 180. So once you choose everybody and you click confirm updates, once you do that, it cannot be reversed without deleting the entire annual certification. So if you chose full-time members and you didn't realize 50 partial year members were there and you corrected them to 180 and they should not have been, then you probably want to delete the annual certification and re-roll it up. Otherwise, you will need to go in and make all of those individual corrections. And you might want to start with the mass update because if you do need to delete it, you will lose any corrections that you did work on already. Now, once you do the update, it is going to rerun all of that information. So you will need to return to the employer reporting dashboard and wait for that email again, letting you know that that process is complete. Because by rerunning that, you might get rid of a ton of errors, or you might also get additional errors. So that's why it has to rerun that process. Now you can work on resolving those errors. So within the detail of each member, you're going to see all the rows there listed at the bottom with each employment type and each payment reason. So that's going to list the total of all the pay period reports for that payment reason and employment type. Now, if there is an error, it will be listed at the top. Again, similar to those pay period reports that you are familiar with. You will have the fatal errors and the warning errors. So fatal errors, something has to be corrected. Something is wrong. You cannot submit the report to us if you have fatal errors. Now, if it is just a warning, you would click View More to see that error resolution. Now, how it's different from your pay period report is that it does need to be certified, but you may also need to provide an explanation when you are certifying. So I'm going to stress this a few more times. Make sure you fully read that error resolution. Again, on the next slide, I say to make sure you carefully read each one of those because you have to provide a detailed explanation to certify the error. And if you do not give us the information that is requested in that error resolution, we are going to be required to contact you because we do need that. So once you do give an explanation, you can certify that and that error will go away. Now I have here in the box, this is what it looks like whenever you need to type an explanation. So if it wants you to provide calculations, if it wants you to have more details, the more information, the better, because hopefully we can resolve it based upon what you type. But if you type, the member was docked, they were reported correctly, they returned to teaching, that does not resolve the error at all. You probably already know that. So we need specific details, and we're going to have to call you. And it is way easier for you just to research those while you're working on it because we may not call you for months down the road. So we're going to have to call and bug you then whenever it's out of your mind and get that information that we requested in that error resolution. Now, once you certify your error and provide an explanation, you can now see it in 3 different places. So last year it disappeared. You didn't know what you typed. Now you're going to see it in 3 different places. So whenever you're in that member detail, you can see there is a little edit explanations. If it's blue, that means that you can click on it, that you had provided an explanation. If you go in and it was gray, it's because you didn't have an error for that person where you had to provide a explanation. You can also see it just on that front member summary page. You'll have that option to do view summary details where you're going into the member, or you will also see that edit explanations. It is the same situation. If it's blue, it means that you had written in something into the edit explanation. If it's grayed out, it means that there was nothing there. You will also see all of your explanations on the edit explanations page. Now, whenever you are reviewing the view summary details, maybe you realize that you need to correct information based upon reading that error resolution. So you are going to see that you can make corrections to each row, which again, that row is what you had reported for that employment type and payment reason. You can also make a change to the job category. So let's say you accidentally reported a teacher as an administrator all during the year. You can just quickly change it from administrator to a teacher right there in the job category. So for each row, there is an actions drop-down box. So you can choose to quick edit, view details, or delete. So once you go into quick edit, you're going to see that only certain boxes you can make corrections on. So for example, in the box below, you can see you cannot make any type of correction to the contribution boxes. It will allow you for the boxes that you can change, you can type information in there. And then all you have to do is click save to the left of that. You can also go into view details. Now this is view only, read only. You cannot edit or make any corrections from this page. It is just to help you maybe see where that error happened. So maybe if you were short on days paid, you can go in here and see where maybe that happened so that for your 24-25 school year, you can maybe update your payroll software to make sure that you get those days correct. So you can add rows. So you can add new employment types or payment reasons that weren't reported correctly on your pay period reports. So for example, maybe you got an error because all of your earnings were in base salary when maybe some of those should have actually been in an extra duty row. So you can quickly add a row for extra duty, and then you can quick edit that base salary to then remove that extra duty. And it is the same whenever you are choosing an employment type or payment reason. There are only going to be certain boxes that are available for you to update. And you will just simply click that save again. You might also find that you need to delete a row. So if it is original information that was rolled up from your pay period reports, you cannot delete that row. That is going to be grayed out. How you delete it is that you are going to put zeros in every single one of those boxes. So you'll choose quick edit and just delete by putting zeros. Now, if you added a row, you're going to be able to delete that. So that will be enabled that you can delete that. That added row was not part of the roll up of information. Now within each member detail, you're also going to have that terminated sick leave. So here you can make changes. Maybe you accidentally term somebody, you can take that out. Or if you realize that you need to add somebody, you can go ahead and add that information. So you should have reported the termination information on a pay period report. So if you did, it will automatically show up on here. But again, maybe you forgot a member was missed, or somebody turned in their resignation and you had all your pay period reports already uploaded and submitted, you can just easily add that termination information to their page. The next page is the edit explanations page. Now, all edit explanations that you entered from that member summary page, you're going to see all of that information on here. So just like all the other pages too as well, you will have to mark that review complete that is down there at the bottom. Now you have two different options whenever you click the actions arrow. You can either view summary details or you can edit. So that view summary details is just going to take you back to their detail screen with all that information. So if you notice maybe your edit explanation, maybe it doesn't make any sense, you're not quite sure what you were trying to say, you can go back and look at all of that information. You can also edit. So if you just see a typo and you just want to make a quick correction to it, you can also just quickly edit it. The final sick leave review page. This is where you're going to see all those members that you entered that termination throughout the year or that you corrected on their individual detail. You will need to mark this page again, review complete down at the bottom. So just make a note too that you do have to go back to the member detail in order to add them to this screen. So you can make corrections and edit the people that are already on this screen, but if you need to add somebody, the screen does not allow you to. So you do have to go back and update that on their member detail. Our next page is federally funded salaries. So this is where you're going to see a sum of all of your pay period reports that you had reported federal funds for. It will break it down by each fund and give you the total that you had reported. If you like all that information, again, you check that review complete down there at the bottom. But you may find that maybe you need to edit a fund. So if you do, then there is a quick edit, or maybe you didn't actually use that fund, you can actually delete that information right there. You may also find that you need to add a fund. Maybe you accidentally reported all your federal funds under Title I, and maybe you actually had some in Title II. You'll just click that add. It'll bring up a box that you can choose your grant type and your federally funded salaries that were used from that Title II grant. The last page to go over that needs to be marked review complete is workers' compensation. So again, the workers' compensation plan or workers' compensation is for listing members that were on workers' compensation, but also was paid a portion of their daily rate by either you guys just paying the rest of it or them using a third of a sick leave day. If all they were doing were getting their workers' compensation checks and you guys were not paying the rest of their daily rate, do not list them on this workers' compensation page. And you'll have to check that review complete whenever you are done. Now, if you did mark yes, that you did have somebody that was on workers' compensation and were paid a portion of their daily rate, you will have to add a member by clicking Add Member to get them on the screen. Now, the only thing that you have to do is provide their name. So the field will come up that you can click that arrow button. It'll list everybody, but as soon as you start typing Jamie, it's going to bring up only people that have Jamie, and you will just be able to add that member. And again, market review complete. Your final annual certification review page. Once all your pages have been marked that review complete, this page will be enabled. It is very important to review all the totals and make sure they were accurate and match your payroll record amounts. So if you realize it doesn't, no big deal. You can just click previous and go back and make any corrections and do any research that you need to do. If all the information is correct, you can click that I certify the information below is correct button and submit to TRS. But that submit to TRS is not going to be enabled until July 1st. So you can make all the corrections, you can have everything done, but you will not be able to submit it to us. Now you may think that you're done whenever you click submit to TRS, but that may not be true, because what happens is that we are going to rerun that whole process again, and you will get an email stating either there are additional errors that need to be addressed or it has been successfully transmitted. So make sure that you really look at that email and see what it says, because if there are additional errors, you do have to return to the annual certification process to resolve all those errors. And you might say, well, what other errors could possibly enact whenever I've already finished it? Well, one of the main errors that we do see is that the supplementary report that you had previously submitted doesn't match the annual report. So that is an error that you get during the annual certification process. If you started your annual certification process, but then also submitted supplementary reports after you started it, that's whenever we will catch those if they don't match by rerunning that whole process. So again, really look at that email, because if you think you're done, you might not be, and you have to go back in and resolve any of those errors. Now, once you get that successfully transmitted email that says that you're done, you can go in and access just a view read-only copy of the annual certification. That's going to be located in that services area and the annual certification. So all you have to do is choose the fiscal year that you want to pull up and click retrieve, and it'll show you right there what the status is. So if it has been transmitted to us and we accepted it, then it's going to say annual report transmitted. And that actions arrow that was next to that line, it will take you into it. Again, it's only read only. You cannot make any corrections to it, but you can see now all those are marked reviewed, and that final annual certification is marked transmitted. Now, if you find out that you need to make corrections, again, you can't make corrections through here. You have to contact employer services. So especially if you find out you left off a bunch of information, maybe something common that districts do, maybe you didn't have board paid TRS listed on your members. If you find out something like that, contact us immediately, because we can push this back to you so that you can make those corrections. Reports. All of you love reports, but there still are no reports available in Gemini, but you do have reports and employer access. So this is something that's always been there. You can see all of your prior year annual reports. This is all available. This isn't anything new, but I wanted to make sure to show you where you can find that. So once you click reports under that annual report section, the one that you might want to print off and view is that final annual report of earnings. So these are your final numbers. This is what you have submitted to us. Now, if we make any changes whenever we audit it, that's going to be on a separate report. That is under the annual report summary of changes that you can look at and see if we made any corrections. Now, after we get done auditing your report, you get an email every year that says, hey, we're done with your report. You need to go out and click that confirm summary of changes, which you can see that is 2 below that reports. You always have to do that. And then again, you can see that summary of changes reports. Another very popular one that you might want to look at is your annual report remittances. And that's going to display the amount that you remitted to us. But then if you made any corrections on the report, it's going to show if you overpaid the account or maybe there was an underpayment. It will list all those totals for you. Now note, these in the past you could pay, but you can't with Gemini reports. So you cannot pay that amount. You cannot get refunded this amount until we audit the information. So that's the reason why a lot of districts like to upload a report to maybe make corrections, because you could pay that amount immediately. Otherwise, if you made a bunch of corrections, increased earnings, that money is just going to have to sit on your books that you owe us until we bill you that information. Due date. This is very, very important. Thursday, August 15th at 11:59 p.m. Hopefully none of you are submitting it at 11:59, but that is the latest. Otherwise, it is a $250 per day penalty for each day that you're late. Now, it says the annual report failing to conform to the laws are not deemed received. So if you write an edit explanation of this is correct on 100 of those edits, we can say this is not right and shove it back to you and send it back to you and tell you to make all those corrections, and you could get that late filing fee if we give it back to you. So that is the conclusion of the annual certification process. The employer's services information is located there at the top. You can try to call us. Our hours that we are available is usually between 8 and 4. Now keep in mind, there is usually about maybe 6 people in the phone for 1,000 of you. So if you need something immediate, then I would give us a call. And if you can't get through, try to call back in maybe 10 minutes. Usually between 11:30 and 1:30 are lunch hours. I will tell you sometimes that is hard to get a hold of people. There might only be 2 people in the phone. If you send an email or leave a voicemail, just know that the turnaround time might be 24 to 48 hours, because those few people that are in the phone also are the ones that have to return the emails and the voicemails. So please don't send an email, leave a voicemail, and then call back with the same question and get the answer, because they have to research that. So, but feel free to give us a call anytime, usually between 8 and 4.